I'm Pinkish Shah of S+PS Architects, which I co-founded with my partner Shilpa Gore Shah about 20 plus years now. We've been doing a diverse range of work from homes, interiors, housing to some schools as well as corporate office buildings. So it's kind of a varied practice. Client is a chartered accountant by training, but he runs a large business operation out of Belapur, and the family has been known to us for a long time. I think the challenge for us was that how do you bring a large multi-generational family together? So the site is situated on top of a mountain, so it's kind of a hill, and Parsik Hill in Belapur is kind of the equivalent of say Malabar Hill in Mumbai. The mayor's house is there and all, and so you think that when you're building on top of a hill that you kind of get these kind of fantastic views all around, but when we actually went to the site, it was kind of quite contrary to that. So if this is the hill, we actually encountered somebody who was there on the right of us, somebody who was there already there on the left of us. So I think the natural kind of thing that evolved was somehow to figure out a way to look inward. So the site is approached by a 20 feet road, and the site is a fairly standard rectangle. It's about 46 feet by 82 feet basically, and we obviously had to leave the mandatory setbacks that one has to leave all around. So the development permitted a semi-detached house, so we chose to build next to one side and leave three sides of the plot open, and what that kind of allowed us very simply is to locate, like I said, a courtyard in the middle, which creates a simple C-shaped building which has this large kind of green space in the middle over here, into which the family is able to come together within. So if you look at it on a floor wise kind of basis, what we did is the ground floor we primarily designed like a kind of entry and service floor. So what happens is that right at the entrance we have the ability to park 3 cars over here. There is an entrance which kind of leads you to a thin linear lobby which is fairly dark, and that was part of the kind of experience that we kind of desired. There's an elevator which goes right through, and there's a staircase, a single flight staircase that actually kind of takes you up. There is one smaller bedroom at the back over here which is able to spill out into a garden over there at the back, which is what the setback was. We've created a smaller green area in the front as well, which is what the puja room actually looks out into, which is actually like this small circular drum that's kind of been made in glass. The remaining portion at the back is actually services. What we've also done on the ground floor is to build a large rainwater harvesting tank here, which is actually just underneath the courtyard. So this entire courtyard is a 50,000 liter rainwater harvesting tank which collects all the water that is drained off the roof. As we go to the upper floors, the configuration is actually fairly similar. That's the green kind of courtyard on the top. where we've kind of planted a tree, etc. As well as on the first floor, we've created a thin linear lap pool basically, which is at the upper level, which is able to be enjoyed by the master bedroom. And there is a staircase that leads you from the ground floor into the courtyard directly. So this is the most ceremonial entrance. So in case when they have parties, pujas, people actually take this kind of big flight which kind of comes through the 10 feet setback directly into the courtyard. There is a kitchen that's kind of tucked away on the side. This is the living. Like I mentioned, there is an elevator here, and then there is a staircase that kind of connects the two. And then there is a set of toilets. There's a master bedroom toilet here, and there's a powder room, and this becomes the master bedroom space over here. And essentially the configuration continues. So the upper, above the living room, we have a bedroom and another set of bedrooms over here, but it's essentially a simple C. What makes this, however, more interesting is the section. So when we encountered the site, like I said, it was on a hill. The rear portion was slightly higher than the front portion. So that difference was about 4 feet, and we've kind of chosen to retain that difference basically. So what we've done is situated a normal set of rooms here, which is your normal 10 feet height, and there is the parking which is in front, which is also 10 feet here. But the next level above this, which is the master bedroom, this gets another 10 feet here, but the living room is maintained at that same level as the master bedroom slab. What that does very interestingly is to give us a nice volume for the living room and a kind of nice 14 feet space over here for the living room. And then above that again we have a slab which is at 10 feet, and then another slab here which is also at 10 feet. So that kind of more or less completes the house. There's two other things which happen, and one is that there is, like I was mentioning earlier, the rainwater harvesting tank that actually comes here, which has been tucked into the ground, which actually you can't see or experience. There's an earth fill above, so you can step out directly from the living room into the courtyard. But we've also left a small gap here where we are able to draw light into the service area even from the courtyard. So you're actually able to get light from the rear side as well as on this side, like just the upper room. So all bays essentially are lit and ventilated from two sides, and this becomes eventually the courtyard in the center. The house is called Collage House, and it's actually a kind of aggregation of various different materials. And the question has always been that what kind of holds this multiple sets of materials and methods through which it is constructed together. And for us it was actually this idea of a frame which we actually designed, which is in concrete. So the frame is actually rough on the outside, which is kind of an aggregate plaster which we've used. So this is kind of the front elevation I'm drawing. So there's a frame that kind of contains all this mess. As we kind of go further down towards the courtyard, you get the same frame which actually is held only on one side, and the top kind of peels away. So that's kind of what the profile of the house would be. And the third bay at the back the frame actually continues, but in a slightly kind of different profile. So it kind of comes and it kind of turns around like this. So the profile or the section of the frame is actually kind of transforming as it goes along the house. And if one actually has to look at this a little three-dimensionally, and the frame is of course extruded, so it has depth over here. This is the staircase bay where we actually peel that bit and kind of fold it around. So what we were searching for is actually a single device that is able to structure and hold the entire house together. And then the frame actually, like I mentioned, comes back and folds back onto itself over here. And then we have these cutouts so that you can get light down into kind of the place of the pool below over here. So there's a lot of play that happens within the frame, but the frame is kind of the whole armature that holds the whole building together, and it's finished in smooth concrete inside and rough aggregate plaster outside. So when we were designing the house, we actually were thinking that can the house actually be more than what just the brief was or what the demands of the site were. And we thought, can architecture have the ability to actually address kind of larger concerns of society? And one very important thing, I think, which is very relevant to our times is the amount of waste that we are producing as a society. So I think the whole idea of the house is driven around the idea of reusing waste, where we've taken things like old windows, doors, which are kind of collaged together in this kind of very random patchwork like technique onto the front facade. But it's also kind of contrasted with something very new like the polycarbonate right next to it, or the kind of blue of the glass balcony that kind of pops out. Similarly, inside you will see this kind of tending to go through right across the house, where we've used waste stone slivers, which you kind of find on the back of construction sites or in stone yards, and kind of reuse those into cladding a wall. We've used leftover pieces of pipes, which we've kind of created a pipe wall out of metal. Similarly, there's a patchwork of metal plates that actually clads a wall, and this is taken right into the interior, where we've used chindi, which is like waste fabric, which is actually used for one of the chairs. There's actually blocks which you use for printing, which were actually kind of not being used anymore, which we've used as an element within the bedroom. So there is a continuity of thought right across the project, and to take some of these ideas from the big scale to the smaller scale.